On fiscal matters, there would be many opinions that I would share with members of the Tea Party caucus. The reality is that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whether you're on the left or on the right, this country faces a serious fiscal problem of monumental proportions. The remedies that we need to achieve will require sacrifice on the part of all Americans. And so, on fiscal matters, you won't find a member of Congress more firmly committed to balancing the budget, to reining in excessive spending, to putting an end to irresponsible borrowing than myself. On social issues, I'm more of a libertarian. I've always believed in Republican principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and not believed it appropriate for government to inject itself into the personal lives of we as citizens. So to the extent that members of the Tea Party would hold out a conservative social agenda, I might not be in lockstep with what they're looking for.
We'll now go to the other candidates to see if they have any comment on that question. We'll start off with Lisa.
Okay. Well, you know what? I believe that the Tea Party has been a huge benefit to our Republican Party. They've held the line on taxes, increasing our debt ceiling. They've been very vocal and visible, and even here today. And I appreciate everybody that's going to join our party and make it stronger and wiser and utilize that energy and resources so that we will have a bipartisan solution to many of our problems. We see in this state, we are ruled by one party. The Democrats have taken control over every major seat in their Congress and also our constitutional officers and our governor. And we see our taxes are rising, businesses are leaving our state, and I certainly will make sure that I will go across the aisle and not only be a participant in the Republican Party, the Tea Party caucus, there's a medical caucus that I'd love to be involved in it as well.
Justin?
These are the type of mealy-mouthed answers that are going to get us a big fat loss in November. We ought to be able to say as a Republican Party that we support the Tea Party. The Tea Party principles are America's principles. Now, we may not be the majority. We may not have a majority registration in this state. There may be more Democrats, and there's certainly more independents. But I can tell you, having talked to voters now for a very long time, that their sentiment, their gut, is with everything we stand for, the conservative principles that we stand for. And we ought to be able to say, yes, we do support the Tea Party. Yes, we do support their principles of smaller government, of less taxes, of reining in the federal government, of adhering to the Constitution, of recognizing that we are not a government, a country of government, we're of the people. And so if we have candidates that are afraid to do that, write them off today, because they're not going to fight for you or for the Constitution when they get down to Congress.
Well, I have a great affinity toward the Tea Party, and over the last 3 years I've been out on the corners of Southbury at the Playhouse. I've been out on Route 202 at the car dealership that's closed down, and I'm with these people raising the flags and speaking to the people who beep their horn as they drive by. These are folks just like you and me. They believe in the Constitution. They believe in self-reliance. They believe in the very ideals that made this country great. And I'm sure that I'll do very, very well with the Tea Party folks down in Washington, and have no problem with them at all, because these folks are just sort of mad as hell and are not going to take it anymore. They've risen up. They will not let this country deteriorate. They want to see it great again.
The next question, Julie Moore.
Justin, in light of the Colorado movie theater shooting, would you implement a new assault weapons ban? Why or why not?
We don't need more gun control laws by the federal government in this state or in this country. What we need is law enforcement. What we need is personal responsibility. And those are going to be the answers. The people that follow gun control laws, law-abiding citizens, are not the ones that are going to be creating these type of situations like the ones we see in Colorado.
Well, yeah, I'm a strong Second Amendment person. I wouldn't tinker with it, and I wouldn't change rules as they are now. I think what we need is we need some education about firearms. We need instruction, but I'm not tinkering with the Second Amendment.
What this country needs to do is to enforce the laws that are on the books today. There's not a need for additional federal regulation of firearms. What there's a need for is a commitment to the enforcement by the federal government of the laws we have on the books today.
I believe it was a very tragic incident. And I have a daughter who lived 8 miles from that movie theater. So my husband and I did have some serious reflection. But I am a believer in the Second Amendment. I don't believe it's about weapons. It is about mental health and it's about evil. And changing our gun laws is not going to impact those two things. Thank you.
Next question will turn to Matt Dorenzo.
This question is for Mark. I'm hoping that maybe your real estate background can help me out. I live up in Torrington. Which has a problem similar to a lot of the towns in this district: New Britain, Waterbury, New Milford, Thomaston. There's more than 1 million square feet of vacant industrial space there. Buildings that used to make ball bearings and gaskets and stuff that powered the Industrial Revolution is empty now. There's no private market pressure to develop that space. The city can't afford to take it over and even knock it down. Some of the buildings are deteriorating and brownfields. What can the federal government do, or what should the federal government do to help a city like Torrington with that kind of space and redevelopment?
Well, that's a great question, Matt. And, you know, not being a politician, it's easy to just tell the truth, and I have the 35 years of background to speak with regard to it. The state is losing population. Torrington is losing population. If you're losing population, you're going to simply have less need to fill this vacancy. This vacancy also was used for manufacturing in Torrington when we had the Torrington Company and Ingersoll Rand and other manufacturing companies. This space will not have any use in the foreseeable future. That is the fact of the matter. So it's going to lie derelict unless it's taken down, converted to parks, or converted to parking, so that folks in downtown will be able to have greater accessibility to downtown stores. To pretend that we can change this and to pretend that these old factories will be able to have use as either reconditioned apartments or other uses is pretending. And I don't like to pretend in my business. We need people in this state. People are not coming into the state because it's a very bad environment for businesses to be in. So we have to change the fact first that very few companies are coming into this state. In my real estate holdings, I almost never get an inquiry from an outside corporation to come into this state. What happens is that tenants go from one building to the other building, usually at lesser rent, and just switch around. But we have no new blood in this state. So with regard to Torrington, I think what we have to do is we have to start thinking about taking down some of these buildings, putting in parking, putting in parks, but I don't rely upon the federal government for that whatsoever. I think the federal government has to have a limited mission.
Other comments? Andrew, we'll start with you.
I'm a little bit more of an optimist than Mr. Greenberg on this subject, and I too work in downtown Torrington, and I've seen small businesses taking root in our community. In Connecticut, there were more manufacturing jobs in 2011 than there were in 2010. We have 5,000 small manufacturers in our state employing 166,000 individuals. Whammo has just decided to bring the production of Frisbees back from China to the United States of America. General Electric is bringing the manufacture of appliances back from Mexico and China to this country. If this country gets its act together, lowers the corporate tax rate, repeals Obamacare, makes energy more affordable, and begins to deconstruct our regulatory environment, which is strangling small business, I have every confidence that those buildings in Torrington will be humming with Yankee ingenuity once again.
Lisa?
Well, I want the government, the federal government, to do less and to do those jobs really well. And one of them should not be dealing with the city of Torrington and the empty buildings. That should be reliant on the state government and individuals' private sectors. I grew up in the Unionville section of Farmington, a small mill town area. I had the felt mill on the right hand of my apartments and the ball bearing mill on the left. The ball bearing mill is now a beautiful restaurant. In fact, we're going to have our dinner there after the election on August 14th. The private sector can regain its foothold, but having our government play in that arena reduces the chance that private sector ingenuity will take place, and the fiscal money that will come from entrepreneurs and angel capital will also not play if they know the federal government is involved. Thank you.
Well, you know what the federal government can do, Matt, to help Torrington out? It can get the heck out of the way. I believe that we've got a government and a state government that's been trying to pick winners and losers for a very long time. I am an optimist as well, but I'm also a realist. And I disagree with Senator Rohrabacher's characterization of the economy in Connecticut today. It is downright awful. We are last in the state in job creation, and I don't need to tell any of you how poor our growth is right now, how high our energy costs are, how high our taxes are, and spending. We didn't get that way overnight. This was a 20-year process. And during that time, Mr. Rohrabacher, you were part of the problem. Whether it was introducing sales tax increases, whether it was voting for cap and trade, whether it was voting for all sorts of mandates and regulations that were going to make healthcare more expensive, you were not part of the solution, you were part of the problem. And right now we have a state that is crumbling. I believe that we can bring it back, but it's going to take getting federal and state government out of the way so we can have real economic growth again.
Aaron Boyd from the